Just gonna do a quick video disclaimer on drugs, essentially. So the reason I'm doing this is I've seen a lot of comments in my videos saying that drugs are harmful. This is bad advice to take drugs. Don't listen to this guy. I'm not telling anyone to take drugs. Just to clarify, I'm not recommending you do. The purpose of this channel, well, the purpose of the experience reports on this channel to give a true and honest reflection of an experience I've had on a chemical. The reason it's important to do this is because, well, there's a lot of stigma attached to taking drugs, there's a lot of stigma to these chemicals, and there's not a lot of research on these things. And I think it's a good idea to get anecdotal research from users and from people in general, and scientific research, maybe on animals or on models of the effects it has on the brain, or chemical models or synthesis routes, for example. And this is a small part of that. In the same way they used to perform clinical trials with other drugs, and people would report how they felt in relation to how they felt before, and how they may have felt in relation to another generic compound or other generic compounds. I'm doing this to give a better idea of what people feel like. I don't think you should necessarily do what I've done or not. I would recommend, if you're going to take drugs, to take them safely, to start off at very, very low dosages, to make sure you know what you're actually taking, and to test it, and to learn something about the compound, and to learn about whatever other medications or drugs you're taking and the effects that they have together, and consider all kinds of conditions and such, and maybe consult with a GP if you want. I'm pretty sure they'll give you free drug advice, and you can find a lot of places that will give drug advice. For those of you struggling with addiction, you probably shouldn't view this channel, because essentially I'm talking about the things that you're addicted to, the things that you crave over and over again. And to anyone who is an addict, or anyone who's taken a lot of drugs watching my channel, it's pretty obvious that I'm not just some person who's done a bit of research on the internet and talking out of my ass. It's quite obvious. I know what I'm talking about, and I'm describing effects in quite significant detail, and it's obvious that I'm feeling similar feelings to other people. And so if you're a drug addict and you're watching this, you're re-repeating, you're re-craving from watching my videos. If you're a drug addict and you're worried that you're going to relapse, stop watching my experience reports or anything to do with drugs. Stop watching this and just stop thinking about it, because it's not helpful. If it's been 2 or 3 years, maybe it's helpful, maybe it's good for reflection, maybe it's good to see how other people feel about it. But yeah, my experience reports are just that. They're just reports of an experience I've had. They're not intended to convince people into taking drugs, and I don't want people to just start taking drugs. There are a lot of drugs that certain people shouldn't take, and there are some drugs that probably nobody should take, such as scopolamine and very high doses of certain drugs like PCP. I really wouldn't recommend most people take these drugs ever, to be honest. And there are some very, very strange reactions that people have. A lot of these drugs are new drugs. We don't really understand the biology of them, and there could be fatal consequences because we don't really understand what effect it's having on us biologically. So I'm just sort of spreading this message and awareness because I've seen a lot of people looking at the Poppy T reports and saying, oh, this is dangerous. Yes, it is dangerous. And also, to clarify, I took pods, not seeds. I'm not sure where everyone's got this idea of seeds. Or maybe I said seeds when I should have said pods. The reason it's quite dangerous, specifically with poppies, is because every poppy and all the different seeds from poppies have different alkaloid levels depending on where they've been grown, in what type of soil, and under what conditions. So, say for example, you're lucky it's your first time, you have a little bit and it's super strong. You think, okay, that's great, it's super strong, I'm good, and maybe you survive, right? But maybe it's your first time and you take a very weak batch of poppy seeds or poppy pods, and you have a second time a week later. A week later, without any other opiates, you probably don't have much tolerance to opiates in general. And you take another batch that contains 5 times more alkaloids for the same amount. And now you're taking a lethal dose because you're taking what appears to be the same amount, but in reality, it contains 5 times more of the opiates inside of it, and it could potentially be fatal. Um, Opiates and a lot of these drugs aren't something to be played with. These are just experience reports to compare experiences with other people, for people to watch out of curiosity. They are not meant for people to take drugs, essentially. The recommendations I make are recommendations to myself. I'm advertising this not to make recommendations to other people, but if you have experiences in general, I'm showing it's a good idea to reflect on them, to make a recommendation to yourself, to sort of know yourself, to understand what effects things in your life have on you, not just drugs, anything. You can make an experience report about doing the ironing. You can make an experience report about walking down a certain street in the world. And if you reflect on it later, you'll have a much better understanding of yourself. This is why I do this. And to show also the self-reflection process of someone else afterwards. I'm trying to give a complete understanding of these compounds in terms of effects for recreational users and effects for casual users in general. Not It's not really because I want to watch people get high and take drugs. I'm not really a person who takes a shit ton of drugs and parties and wants to see the demons. I mean, sometimes, but mainly I found it interesting. I like to see what effects it has on my body, and I find it interesting to research online little bits about it and compare with other people. Just for the simple fact that it's information in general. It's just a particular piece of information I like. But one of the reasons I think it's useful for people to post experience reports and stop being worried about what people think about their drug use, is because I think a lot of the stigma is killing drug users worldwide. A lot of people are worried about going to the hospital or police if they've got problems with drugs, if they've got problems with crime related to drugs because their use and their possession is illegal. They're going to jail if they seek help. You see in movies a lot of heroin addicts buying and overdosing, and the dealer takes them out and drags them to the street. In this situation, unless you're dealing with a heroin addict who's killed 50 people and you just happen to found him, your priority should not be going after the heroin addict. It should be keeping the other person alive, and maybe wait a few months and come back. But there should be, I feel like in some situations, there should be some level of immunity. I think there should be more community awareness and support rather than just, well, you're on drugs and you're fucking your shit up, so fuck you. Because a lot of people who have these problems, you can simply substitute an addiction to drugs to an addiction to other shit in life that isn't drugs, or just give them something else to do. If they're having problems with this, they're going to have problems with other things. So just take the drugs away and find something else, or just be around them. Stop them taking drugs and just find something else that they can enjoy and make them do that instead. It's quite an easy solution, but making it so prohibited and telling everyone it's going to kill them and it's naughty isn't stopping anyone from dying from drugs. It's doing quite the opposite. Obviously, drugs are lethal. I have no delusions of this. Drugs are lethal, or they can be. They're not inherently necessarily lethal. But so are roads, and so are a lot of things. But, well, actually telling people that roads are dangerous is helpful, but banning them altogether is not a solution to transportation. It might be in the future when we run out of fuel, but that's a different concept. Alcohol as well is a drug that's far, far more dangerous than most of the drugs I talk about. And tobacco as well, I think is probably the number one killer in the world in terms of drugs. I could be wrong there. It's going to be alcohol or tobacco, quite undoubtedly. And I'm pretty sure alcohol probably causes more psychological problems than other things. But you can get addicted to other things too. Anyways, I shouldn't be defending all this so much. It's egotistical of me. Basically what I'm saying is drugs are not always safe. If you're going to take drugs, don't go diving into them crazy on someone's recommendation. Don't take a dose that you're not happy with, and make sure you understand what's in front of you. And try not to take too much if you are going to take them. Try to take them when you're in good health. If you've got a heart condition, you shouldn't be banging half a gram of cocaine up your nose. It's probably gonna fucking kill you. That's an obvious example, but people don't think about this in these situations. They think, I want to be cool, I want to be this, I want to be that. So I'm just having a shout out to these people and saying, don't take drugs if you don't want to. And if you do want to, and you're safe and you know what you're doing, that's up to you, I suppose. That's your life choice. I won't tell you how to run your life, but to have this experience with drugs, I could probably give you a better understanding of what's going on through your mind, from my experience. For example, someone who's never taken drugs in their life and drunk alcohol on a few occasions, which is a drug, but we'll say it's not for the purposes of this, or never taken prescriptions or really anything. Some medications which are drugs, but they're not what you think of. They're not the image that's conjured up when you say drugs. They go to be a drugs counselor. They can help. They can read programs. They can help. They can give psychological advice. They can be there. They can never really understand these processes specifically. They can never really understand in a deep way what's gripping them. They can understand the pain and they can understand that, but they can't understand the alterations that are going on through these drugs, essentially. And they can't understand that actually sometimes they can be a solution. For example, ayahuasca and quite a few of the psychedelics have been used to treat addiction and have been quite successful. They're looking into MDMA, for example, MDMA therapy for people with PTSD, and it's gone quite well, apparently. I know as well there's some studies that suggest magic mushrooms can lead to neurogenesis in the brain, and other chemicals can as well. Others that are saying it could cure aspects of depression or alleviate aspects of depression for quite some time. And actually, you'll find that very strong opiates prescribed to elderly people and people with a lot of pain. You have to understand that, yes, there's going to be a lot of recreational users, and probably overdoses and all sorts of bad things, but it's not worth destroying research and stopping it dead just because of that. It's the same with any medicine or any drug. You don't know what it is until a lot of people have tried it. But if a lot of people try it but no one talks about it or gives anecdotal evidence, it's going to be useless forever, when it could have had some potential therapeutic use or actual legitimate medical use that isn't just psychological. For example, I read about it's a tryptamine, I'm pretty sure. When if I find out, I'll link it. But there's a tryptamine that they think might be able to reverse deafness, because it causes a very strange audio sensation, and causes audio hallucinations, but not really visual ones. And they think that this could help in curing deafness. And they're finding with some hallucinogenics, it seems to be hallucinogenics, they have a very profound effect on the brain, that they can, some of them can lead to neurogenesis, although a lot of other chemicals can have the opposite effect as well, and it's important we know that and understand that. It's important that we don't miss something because it was taboo, or because we don't like the idea that it could be useful. This is a big debate with the legalization of cannabis, and most of South America here, or well, I don't know about most, but quite a bit of South America here, it's legal or it's just disregarded. Not a lot of drugs have illegal, or just nobody really cares, and it's not really doing any harm to anyone in comparison to other countries where it's more stigmatized, for example. Because it's more open, people know what other people are doing, people know when people are having too much, and there's more information, there's more access to genuine information, instead of that's illegal, stop that, you're a fucking mess. This isn't useful for gathering information, and it's not helpful, I don't think, in terms of, rehabilitating people who have addictions or, mental health problems, for example. A lot of people with mental health problems go into addiction because they don't have anything else to supplement it, when maybe they could get a garden and some kittens and still be crazy, but be quite happy and fulfilled with that, and other people could be happy and fulfilled with that. There's no reason why they should be subjected to a life of shooting heroin, I don't think. And for this reason, yeah, this is essentially the reason why I do these experience reports. So yeah, I don't have much more to say. If you have any questions, ask them, and I'll answer them if I have the time. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and if you didn't, I hope you enjoy something else and have a good day. Ciao.